Hello and welcome to an all-new unbiased gear review. Today we are taking a look at the LTD SH-7ET Sir Headley signature model. The specifications on this instrument are as follows. We have a neck-through-body construction with a maple neck and two basswood body wings. We have a gorgeous flame maple top with this really awesome see-through purple finish. Ebony fingerboard with 24 frets. We have a pair of Fishman Fluence Modern humbuckers and an Evertune Bridge. So this guitar has some rather nice appointments to it. I love the finish work on it. It looks fantastic. This beautiful purple finish. It's nicely buffed out and glossy on the body itself. Meanwhile, the back of the neck has one of the most ridiculously smooth satin finishes I've ever felt. It's absolutely fantastic. It's not as good as something like an Ormsby SX or a Reaver, but it's getting there. It's really nicely done. This is probably one of the nicest necks I've felt on an LTD in a long time, to be honest with you. Besides looking really excellent, the guitar plays fantastically. The fretwork is honestly really well done. There's no dead spots anywhere on the neck whatsoever. The fret edges, when you closely look at them, they could stand to be a little bit cleaner, but the fact that there's binding on the edge of the fretboard there, basically kind of binding all around the neck, honestly, it doesn't just serve an aesthetic purpose. It serves a functional purpose too, in that it hides any sort of roughness that the fret ends might have. Perfectly fine. To me, it's perfectly acceptable. It makes this instrument an absolute joy to play on. The neck profile itself is a rather thin U shape, so it's very comfortable. It's basically coupled that with the satin finish that's on the back. This thing is built for speed. It's built to play these amazing metal riffs on. Getting back to the finish itself, I mean, I've poured over this thing, and really, like, the only thing that can be called out as a quote-unquote problem is that you can definitely see that the purple itself just comes up a little bit high and comes up over the edge of the binding just a little bit. Is that something that necessarily matters so much? No, it doesn't affect playability. No one that's watching you play is ever going to notice that. But I'm just trying to call out everything and be thorough. Going over the rest of the instrument, there seems to be absolutely no other issues with regards to the finish itself, except that with this particular one, there's just a little bit of a raised ridge in the satin finish right back here. Now, if you're just going along and jamming on this thing, you're not going to notice it really. But if you're inspecting the instrument, you will notice it. So if anything, that maybe goes just a little bit to the final quality control before this instrument gets put out. Let's move on to the elephant in the room, and that is this Evertune Bridge that is on this particular instrument. Now, a lot of people have some very very prominent opinions about the Evertune Bridge. I have a few myself, and this particular guitar and this particular Evertune Bridge kind of bolsters some of them a little bit. First of all, a lot of people will tell you, well, I don't like the fact that there has to be a huge amount of body wood taken out. That has a negative effect on the tone. And okay, I hear you, probably a genuine concern. However, this is a very, very thick Horizon style body from ESP, and also it's factory installed. Later on, when you hear how this instrument sounds, I don't think it necessarily affects the tone on this particular instrument so much. Something else, probably. You're probably going to notice a serious difference, but this one, it just sounds absolutely massive. More on that later. Now, one thing that needs to be stated is that the Evertune Bridge does do exactly what it's designed to do. It basically holds its tuning pretty much no matter what you put it through. So if you are a touring musician, you play live and you don't use a whammy bar, or you don't do any like weird noises like playing the string behind the bridge like you would on a tune-o-matic or anything like that, this is a fantastic fixed bridge option for you that can hold its tuning throughout the course of the gig. If you're also looking for just a recording tool that you don't have to retune between every single stupid take, this is also a fantastic option for you. I set this thing up right after I got it, and in probably the maybe 2 months that I've owned this instrument, I think I've tuned it maybe 3 times. So this, believe the hype, it does hold its tuning. One caveat I will give with regards to that is that you do require a lot of setup with this particular bridge. If you're used to playing instruments that have like Floyd Roses on it, you're kind of used to the hassle of having to get it just right and just perfect. So this might not stress you out so much. To me, I found it to be, okay, it just was tedious. It was tedious. For those of you that are used to just throwing strings on, tuning it up, and hey, it's done, this might be kind of downright confusing, honestly. Look up a YouTube video. That's all I did. I was able to figure it out from one viewing, and it takes a while to get it right. It takes a while to get it perfect, but this thing does hold its tuning no matter what you do to it. Play a chord, it's perfectly in tune. Keep it one of those. Still in tune. That's awesome. That is exactly what this thing is meant to do. I couldn't be happier with that aspect of it. This next part about the Evertune is something that I am going to say I've heard from many, many people who don't have this problem. But I've also heard from a lot of people who say that they do have this problem on their instruments as well. So I would say at best we can call this part inconsistent, and that is the noise that comes from this Evertune Bridge. There's a lot of metal noise in there. A lot of noise from the cams and the springs and whatever else you've got going in there, the levers. There's just a lot of rattle, a lot of that high-pitched metallic resonance that you get out of something. Like for those of you that have played Floyd's and notice that there's a lot of spring noise, it's kind of the same thing. Only, dare I say it, it sounds like it's more present in this thing. So that is probably my number one complaint about the bridge, my number one complaint about the instrument, kind of really my only serious complaint about the instrument, honestly. Now on to something that I absolutely love about this guitar, as if how it played wasn't enough. This thing sounds absolutely fucking massive. It's a truly aggressive and angry and, as Dan would put it, pissed off sounding guitar. And I absolutely love that. This thing is made for brutal deathcore, death metal, whatever you want to play on it. But just that super brutal and just kind of, well, you know. Oh, sounds so meaty, sounds so aggressive. The passive voice sounds pretty good too. You get a little bit more note articulation, honestly. Great. This instrument, it's made for pummeling metal riffage. Highly recommend it if you want something that sounds just that fucking aggro. My final conclusion, this guitar is an absolute goddamn winner. It's one of the most inspiring LTDs that I've picked up in recent years. The playability is really, really awesome and incredible, and it's really nice to see how far LTD has come. The sound, equally as amazing. I mean, that was one of the first things I noticed when I first plugged this thing in several months back. It is just made for brutal, brutal metal riffage. I absolutely love this thing. Super inspiring instrument to play on. There again, the only thing I would really call out, that fucking Evertune and the noise that it makes. It holds its tuning really, really well. You've got to have like an MIT degree to, no, that's an exaggeration. You do need to put in a little bit extra effort and a little bit extra research to know how to set up the bridge, but the payoff is there. It holds its tuning really well, just goddamn that spring noise. There again, though, as I said, might not be your experience with the Evertune. But overall, this guitar is fantastic. A+. I love it. So I know what you're saying. You're saying, Arnold, what are you drinking today? I'm so glad you asked. Today, I am having Hoppin' Frog Double Pumpkin Ale. Frog's Hollow Double Pumpkin Ale. It is an 8.4% alcohol by volume. And I'm looking very forward to this because this is one of my favorite breweries based out of Ohio. The pour is a very rich kind of orange, kind of golden color. Has practically no head when poured. You can definitely smell a lot of the spices in there. Oh my god, that's good. It's very floral. You can definitely taste the pumpkin in there, but you taste a lot more of the spices in there, honestly. There's a lot of cinnamon, a lot of nutmeg. Tastes kind of like if you've ever had like pumpkin sugar cookies. That's kind of what this is very reminiscent of. It's a little sweet, not too sweet. You mostly catch just a lot of the spices that are in there. Slightly malty, too. Slight taste of caramel in there as well, but mostly the pumpkin and the spices. Overall, this is really, really good. Whenever you hear someone say, oh, I don't like pumpkin beer, that's because they haven't had a good pumpkin beer. This is a fantastic pumpkin beer. Highly recommend it. So let me know what you guys thought. Leave a comment in the comment section below. Like this video. Subscribe to this channel. Many more videos to come. For those of you that are going to the NAMM show, I'll see you there in a few weeks.